Hello and welcome to the channel. Alright, so in my last video I talked about my opinion is the only one that actually matters. Wow, that feels light after lifting the sandbag. To me. And that's true. But how did I get to that point? Well, this is a skills channel, and everything and anything and everything is a skill. You may not have what it takes to become the best at any particular skill, but you can gain any skill. And confidence is one of those. Now, am I the most confident person in the world? No, I get insecure all the time. And quite frankly, I went through a period earlier this month where it was just like, or time of recording this, and last month, where I was very uncertain about certain things. And it threw me for a loop, multiple loops. I would switch between spiraling and wallowing. That's not a fun time. But I will say this. You gain the ability to trust yourself as you become more competent. But competence must be repeatable. Why? Because if you do one thing that's really cool once, it's a fluke. You don't have that lodge in your brain that, oh, I can do that over and over and over. It is a part of who I am. It is a part of what I'm capable of. So you must do something repeatedly. You must be repeatedly capable of whatever you desire. For instance, if you want to be a reader, okay, a lot of people do want to read. I want to read. How do you become a reader? Well, you read. But if you try reading 10, 15, 20 pages to start, you might do that for a couple days. It's not going to work for very long. But you know what you can do? Read a paragraph, a couple words, a sentence, whatever. I'd say stick with a paragraph. It's easier to mark with a bookmark. But, and by the way, go is the shortest paragraph you can make, and it's grammatically correct, or syntactically correct, contextually correct, whatever, it's correct. Anyway, you're loud. You read a paragraph, leave it alone, come back, read a paragraph. Leave it alone, come back, read a paragraph, whatever. Over and over and over and over again, you will be capable of reading a paragraph. And then eventually, your brain's like, yeah, I can do that. So it starts to move on to a page, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages. Suddenly you're reading books, like actual books in significantly short periods of time. That's with any skill. So if you go out there and gain competence in a skill, your brain starts to relax. It starts to kind of like let go of that. Oh, I've gone over the time, so this is going to be a long form video. It goes to the point where, okay, this is something that has happened multiple times. I must adapt to this. I must become this, the thing that is capable of handling the task in front of me. And that's the real thing, right? And they talk about that with identity changing or creating your own identity, where you know, someone says, I'm trying to run. It's a thing they're trying to do. I am a runner. A runner runs. So they do it more often because that's what they do. So in order to build that in, you must take on a task that is of significant difficulty, but repeat that task over and over until you are capable of handling that for a long period of time. And I do mean days, obviously not without stopping, but you should be able to handle this for days at a time without really thinking about it. So for instance, reading, exercise. If you go and you say, you know what? I work out, you know? Okay. So one day you go for a walk, the next day maybe you lift some weights, you don't really do anything about it. Like you don't go hard, but you lift weights, and you come out kind of refreshed. You go walk, you try biking one day, but you work out, you do something every day. But you don't even have to push yourself that hard. With that level of frequency, don't push yourself very hard. You will notice the burnout very quickly. But because you work out, because you are that person, your brain starts to say, you know what? That's right, I'm that person. This entity that I control, Because your subconscious is there, and it does not, in any way, shape, or form, care about what your conscious thinks. It does everything on its own. It's like a backup computer that no one knows how to work. That's your subconscious. Your conscious mind, you have some control over. That's why meditation works. And yes, meditation does work. If you need to lower your anxiety, I highly suggest breathe in for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, and repeat that process for about 5 minutes. You will feel significantly better. And if you want to, I've never done this, but I have heard that you can get on a kind of high if you push it to like 20 minutes. Now, I wouldn't say start with 20 minutes because that is an effort and your brain will not like that, but go for that 5 minutes. Go for 2 minutes. Honestly, go for a minute, but do it multiple times a day. You can do 3 meditation sessions of 1 minute per day forever. Because all you have to do is find 60 seconds. And even for parents who say, hey, I don't have time, I have these kids and this and that and the other, talk to your partner. Honestly, I can get into a whole thing about relationships from what I know about relationships versus what I'm capable of. Well, that's not true. I'm capable of it. It's just, hey, I'm a weirdo. Like, I'm a weird dude. Anyone my age or younger is usually not as thoughtful of their life as I have been for the past 15, 20 years, you know? So, ask your partner, hey, can you just give me 2 minutes? And one of those minutes is used for setup and getting back up. And the other minute in between, so time, setup, and get up and actually go back. But between that time, 60 seconds, you take those slow, deep breaths. Meditation works. Now, like I said, you have conscious control over your conscious brain, right? You can build it up to the point where it is more resilient and things that are on your mind don't bother you so much. But you have little to no control over your subconscious mind. There is that whole idea of lucid dreaming, but even then, that takes like significant practice for a lot of people. So, I don't even know where I was going with this. I'm just talking. I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to info dump on you and you get whatever you want out of it. At some point, someone's going to say, oh, maybe write a script. I don't write scripts. I prefer to talk. Because, one, I'm not only speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself. I am bouncing ideas off of the camera and back into my head to refine them. What's the point of that? Hey man, everyone's got to process one way or another. And if you don't, how cluttered is your mind? Mine's super cluttered, but because I'm always thinking. I don't stop. So, you have no control of your subconscious mind, which is actually pretty great. Because as you continue to practice a skill, you actually get more of that ingrained into your subconscious mind. This is why former athletes who try to train again often injure themselves, because they got so ingrained in their head that they are this badass, awesome person, and they were. But if you left it for years, a month or two, it'll take you about a couple weeks to get there. But if you leave it for years and don't rebuild slowly, you are not that badass anymore. You're not. And you will fail. You will probably hurt yourself. Unless you did some training like what the great Gamma did, where he spent his entire life slowly building up the tolerance of his tissues, because cells are like the basic block of life. Then you have tissue, which is a collection of cells. Then you have organs, which are a collection of organs. Organ systems, a collection of organs. Organs, a collection of tissues. Organs, organ systems, which are a collection of organs, and then you have the organism, which is a collection of organ systems. Little biology lesson there for you. He built up his tissue tolerance over time by doing thousands of reps of Hindu push-ups, Hindu squats, and swinging a club bell, or a club. And in doing all of that, that doesn't go away right away, and it actually takes a long, long time for it to dissipate. So it didn't take him very long to just snap right back into it. And he probably was exercising to some degree anyway. He just hadn't been training as seriously. So if you were this badass athlete as a youngin, and you've left it for 10, 15, 20 plus years, even just 5, you will be messed up. You are not the same person you were then. But in your subconscious, you think, I am this person, I am badass. And that's what leads you to messing yourself up. Your subconscious and your reality are not the same. And that's what you want to do. So, again, if you are a reader, or you want to be a reader, you want to read books, and you have no idea how to go about it, start with a paragraph. Just one paragraph. It doesn't matter how short or long it is. If you're reading a book that has page-long paragraphs, which do exist, try a different book. And honestly, don't be ashamed. Try a children's book. Because if you graduated high school, but how much did you actually learn? Because unfortunately, either the education system failed you, or may have failed you, or you may have failed yourself. Now, is that everyone? No. But that does happen with some people. The education system, their teachers are just awful. You know what? And you know what? Not all teachers are awful. I have met quite a few that are great. But some are. And if you are one of those teachers, and you come across my video, you don't even know that you're a terrible teacher. You don't. Because I guarantee you, you are in that quadrant of life where you don't know that you don't know that you're bad. You're bad and you don't know it. Versus there are people who are great and they don't know it, and there are people who are great and do know it, and there are people who are bad but know it. Think about that, right? So, you want to be a reader. Okay. You read a paragraph. And if it's the reading level is too high for you, the difficulty level is too much. Start with a children's book. There's some really cool ones. Catherine Lasky has the Guardians of Ga'Hoole series, and yes, it's simplistic writing, but oh my god, it is a messed up series. It is so brutal and it touches on a lot of topics, and quite frankly, I am surprised Scholastic picked it up, but also I'm not, because you know what? They were trying to make money. Okay. Pick up one of those books. Aaron Hunter's also really good, by the way. Or pretty good. Get that. Make sure it's at a level you can understand. Read a paragraph. And when you start to feel your brain get a little bit tired, let it go. Put it down. Go do something else. Come back. Do it again. And again. And again. And that can be with anything. If it's with exercise, honestly, just kind of like marching in place for 30 seconds, just to kind of get your heart rate back up, and then go and do something else, and then come back and do it again, something else, do it again, do it again, do it again. You will start to change your brain in a way that is fundamental. You become what you practice. Now, do we need perfect practice? No. Why? Because your brain in and of itself actually has a pruning process where if you don't get the desired result, it tells that part of your brain says, ha, we ain't letting that happen. So you actually get better with time. Now, you do have to put some attention forward. If you want to be the very, very top, you have to be laser focused. But if you want to be good, and honestly, if you pick up enough skills and are good at enough things, you only have to be good. You don't have to be great. But if you want to be good, you only have to put in so much attention. And eventually, your brain will do the work for you which is awesome. It's a passive process. It will do the work for you to make sure that the results you want are happening more frequently. So if you wish to read a page at a time or read a paragraph at a time, but you broke halfway through a paragraph and you kind of feel, oh, I don't like that. Your brain remembers that until you sleep. Make sure to sleep. It remembers that as you sleep, fixes that. That habit of breaking halfway through a paragraph doesn't like it. You didn't like it, as your conscious mind didn't like it, your subconscious mind fixes it. Ain't that something? Now, it's a little simplistic, and someone who actually knows about neurology, behavior science, whatever. Those people who actually understand this topic more will probably tell you, oh, that's not how it works, and they're right. I mean, it's not how it works exactly. But the general concept is, like, the practical use of it is that if you don't like a result, your brain fixes it for you. But you have to put in the effort, the work, to actually make it happen. If you don't, and honestly, you don't even have to put in that much effort to start. Because think of it this way, you have to think of it in terms of percentages, right? And for those of you who don't like math, tough luck. Anyway, you have to think of it in terms of percentages. When you start from 0 and go to 1, it is not a 10% change, it is not a 100% change, it is not a 500 billion % change. It is an infinite % change. From doing nothing to doing something, it is literally, mathematically, infinitely better than doing nothing. Even 0.1, from a 0 to a 0.1, is infinitely better. And you will know this because it will probably tire you out if you're anything like me. If whenever I start something new, I get so tired. I can't keep up with it, and especially if I try to do it repeatedly, I have to start off with very, very small steps. And those small steps can lead into bigger steps over time, but I have to start with the small steps. Why do you start with the small steps? Because if you try a grand effort, did you know some infinities are bigger than others? That's the cold hard truth. And the bigger the infinity, the harder it is to replicate. And going from 0.1 to 0.2, you have to understand, is a 100% increase. Going from 0.1 to 1 is a 1000% increase. So, like with my two-hand club workout, I very casually, the first time I did it, this round, this attempt at trying to become fitter, because I have failed many, many, many times to become the athlete and physically competent person that I wish to be. I started off very casually with a weight I knew I could handle, so 7.5 pounds. By the way, I could like one hand swing 25 pounds at the time, and I was using 7.5 or 2. I very casually did the workout. It was so easy that I felt like I did nothing, which is perfect. It was perfect because that means it's repeatable. And so I moved a total of 915 pounds. I mean, if you take into account some of the swinging motions, it's way more because of momentum and all that, but that's not the point. Every rep, multiply it by 7.5 pounds. I got to 915. That was my work capacity. Okay. I am this close to a 100% increase. And you know how good that feels? It took me several weeks. It took me almost 2 months to get to that 100% increase. But it's worth it. It's worth taking it slowly because it's repeatable. I could do that same workout this next time, but I'm not, because I am going to increase the weight to 12.5 pounds. I'm not even at double the weight, and I'm almost doubling the work capacity. 7.5 pounds, 1450. Yes, okay, that's double. Okay, and I'm almost gonna double the work capacity. Probably definitely gonna, or probably gonna, probably definitely. That's funny. Probably gonna double the work capacity this next workout because I'm like 2% away. Oh, and by the way, track your workouts. And if they are very concrete, like you know this is how many reps I've done and this is the weight that I did them with, make sure to track them and track not only where you started, not only the percent change. Look that up, by the way. And if you want, you calculate percent change by taking your new value minus your old value and then divide whatever you got there by your old value. So 1,000 new value, 800 old value. That gives you 200. Divide that by 800, your old value. That will give you your, well, and then you have to multiply all that by 100. So 200 over 800 is 0.25. And then you multiply it by, it's a quarter, right? So it's 0.25. You multiply it by 100, it gives you the 25% increase. That's awesome, by the way. So, where was I going with this? Oh, yes, it's repeatable. And because it's repeatable, whenever the day comes around, because it's a tetrad cycle. First day is explosive work. That's my day today. That's why I'm throwing things that are kind of heavy. But I'm not stressing myself out about it either. Day 1 is explosive work. Day 2, for me, is strength endurance. You can leave it as a strength day if you want to get really, really like strong pretty fast. I prefer strength endurance. It builds my max strength anyway. Day 3 is a rest day. That's my day of, oh, and by the way, I'm using 5-pound weights on that strength endurance day. 5-pound weights. And I went from not being able to do a single pull-up to being able to do 4 last I checked. And that was almost a month ago. So maybe I'm up to 5, maybe 6, maybe more, whatever. Day 3 is a rest day. I highly suggest against doing nothing. It will make you feel so sluggish for day 4. Find a soft practice. I highly recommend rope flow. Do it with a very light weight. I am very strong because I have practiced a lot of pulling exercises, so I am able to work with a 5-pound rope, but again, not for very long. It's just something to keep me going, although I am getting better and more endurant over time. Day 4 is a skills day. That is my 2-hand club day, but you can do anything with this day. You can take a martial art. You can go to dance class. You can go cycling. There is that capacity to gain the skill of cycling because you learn not only how to pace yourself, you learn how to push harder. You learn how to handle your bike better. That is a skill. It's not a skill that I personally really have. I can ride a bike. I just can't, I'm not super proficient at it. I am less than a casual bike rider. I haven't ridden in a year. Anyway, those 4 days, and I started off each one very, very simply, very, very easily. And that allowed me to open the door to where I am now, where I am almost twice as fit as I was 2 months ago. A 2 times difference is huge. It changes how you function in your day-to-day life. When I started, you can see that we have trees. I would cut a few branches and I'd be exhausted. I would be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And now I cut a few branches and I'm like, well, I want to do other things. So that's where I'm going to call it, but I have energy. And I will do my workout usually afterwards. I use that as a warm-up. So think about that. You must become what you need in life. It is your duty as a person to become who you're meant to be. Ugh. I don't know if this ball will hold my weight very well, so I might get off of it in a moment. But think about that, right? You may be in a circumstance where you don't know what to do. You're lost. You're struggling. And I will say I am very fortunate in my life. Clearly, from what you can see, right? But I've had some struggles. And the only thing that has gotten me out of those struggles is just to start moving. And quite frankly, no matter how deep in the pit, in the hole you are, that's your only option too. You got to dig your way back out, climb your way back out if you prefer, but you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So the question is, are you gonna sit there and do nothing, or are you gonna do that itty bitty, tiny little thing that says, that feels like you did nothing, but in truth you did, and you know you did, because that wasn't done before. It's a thing to consider. We have a very limited time on this planet, and because we do, we have to make the most of it. I have been told, you don't go out and party, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do the other. And that's all true. I'm a very boring person. But I don't like that very much to begin with. I'm not super social. That's not true. I can be very social. I just don't have a big social battery. If I go out and socialize, there are like 3 people I can talk to for hours. 3 people. Everyone else, they exhaust me. And I came to realize that it's because I'm a deeply emotional person. Now, that doesn't mean soft, that doesn't mean weak, that doesn't mean frail emotionally. I have no problem crying. I have no problem handling my anger, my frustration. Like, I've always had a temper. Always. And I still do. But I manage it. You know, if you watched Inside Out 2, for those of you who haven't, I really appreciate the depiction of anger in that movie because Riley uses it as a fuel in order to better propel herself or better perform during her hockey game at the beginning of the movie. Anger isn't a terrible thing if you know how to manage it. I get hurt more deeply than others. I wish for deeper connection than others. I wish for a lot of that. But because not many people, and quite frankly, I've worked with a client before, and he would forget that there was a 20-year gap between us. Because he said it was like, man, you're wise beyond your years, and I've always been that way. It is isolating. It is not a fun thing constantly. But what it is a very nice idea that if harnessed correctly can propel you quite far in life. I do not like grand efforts. I don't like them when they're performed in my favor. I don't like them. I don't like to perform them at all. So I prefer calm, consistent effort. And I wonder why, when I'm not gaining in my workouts, why is this happening? Because I've strayed away from that calm, consistent effort. I have a day for explosiveness, for the frenzy, for being able to call on that far more aggressive capacity, and that is my day 1. But my day 2, 3, and 4 are not meant for that. And I lost my way with that and tried to push my day 2 workout as hard as I could at the start instead of keeping a consistent rhythm. That's the real key to it all. And not, if I'm doing rows, and it's really with rows, because at the beginning I realized I had a lot of stamina for rows. And I would keep it going consistently. But as time went on, I went from that consistent effort to which builds a capacity in and of itself, but it's not the capacity I'm looking for that workout. You must find what works for you. If you are someone who can consistently do grand efforts, 2-3 times a week, power to you. If you're someone like me who every time you try to put this big old effort forward and it feels exhausting and the amount of downtime necessary is so much greater than that of what the effort was worth, try pulling back. And not only pulling back, but finding the system that works for you. Calm, consistent, cool concentration over a long period of time can get you very far. Grand efforts can too if you can perform them every couple days, every 3-4 days. I'm not one of those. If you are, great. If you're not, maybe you want to listen to this. I'm getting tired. I hope I imparted some level of wisdom onto someone. And if you got hate in the comments, bring them on, actually. Leave more comments. Drive up the algorithm, please. I appreciate that. Anyway, get out there, do something, and have a good one.